Hey, coming up today on the Man Cave Technology Show, unlimited data plans rolling out with all carriers in the U.S. and probably in some other places. Life on newly discovered planets. I wonder if they have unlimited data. And Verizon doing some 5G test piloting. Dalton has some more interesting news. And what happens when you put a windmill in the middle of a busy interstate? Hey, welcome to the show today. How's everyone doing?
Good. We're doing great.
Great.
We are going to be doing even better, especially if your phone bill has ever suffered from having data overage.
Yes.
Has anyone ever experienced that?
Yes.
It's not pretty, man. It's not pretty.
No, it is not. When it comes to data management, I feel like I know what I'm doing and how much data I'm using. And one time I had a tiff with Verizon because they claimed that, you're doing things that are using up all this data. I went from using, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something as extreme as using like 25 gigs a month to they claimed that I had used 70.
Oh, and it was with your iPad.
Yeah,
I remember this.
On my
Oh my
iPad,
goodness.
on my iPad Pro, which for the most part stays connected to Wi-Fi. Nothing weird happens on it where it would be doing torrenting or some strange thing.
That's terrible.
And these guys claimed that, because I was traveling, I had most likely watched a lot of movies and that had caused that. And I guarantee you that is not the case. But I'm excited.
Watch a movie on an iPad.
So now we have this unlimited data. And Ryan, I think you're the first at this table to sign up.
Oh, you haven't signed up yet? Yes. So I'm with Verizon, and I got the unlimited data plan. It cost me 60 cents more than my 8 gig plan. So literally went from
Crazy.
8 gigs to unlimited data for 60 cents.
Really?
Fantastic. Now they do cap you. I don't know if you've seen this, Joshua. I know you have Verizon, but you do get capped at 22 gigs. And then what Verizon says is instead of saying throttling now, they use the verbiage of we may or may not put other Verizon customers before you, aka we will throttle you.
Yeah. No more
and
HD.
with the unlimited, which I've been tethering a lot to my laptop out and about. But they actually cap the tether. Somehow they can figure out that you're tethering through like the iPhone interface, and they will actually cap your tethering at 10 gigs.
No way.
So you can't just ditch Comcast at your house and now have use Verizon.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Right. So unlimited isn't truly unlimited.
Yeah, but from what I've seen so far, I have not been. I'm nowhere near 22 gigs per month this month yet. But fantastic speeds.
Right. Now you guys are fairly young. At least compared to some people. But
We won't name names.
let's just say that when the internet first came out and I was involved in getting the internet, a lot of it was actually sold by the minute. And American Online, a lot of these companies literally charged you by the minute for use. And then all of that went away and it became unlimited. But it was still dial-up. And a lot of companies that provided dial-up internet would get really upset if you left your computer on. So they would monitor, and if you were idle, they would kick you off. So you could only actually be on for a certain amount of time, and it really truly wasn't unlimited. And it wasn't until really cable modems became popular that we had kind of unlimited. Yeah. And then we saw this turn where they started, the phone companies kind of followed. They went from charging for everything, charging for every minute of phone call, charging for every text into unlimited. Then they did that with data, and now they went back to charging for data, and now they're going back to unlimited. So what? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really interesting that I've thought about now upgrading to unlimited, and I thought about that now that you talked about it a little bit, but when not everyone needs internet access at their house with Comcast. Everyone wants it, but not everyone needs it. What everyone needs is a cell phone to be able to talk to people, a mobile device to be able to talk to people. So I think that's why that for all this time that they can actually take the unlimited and still charge you out the yin yang instead of just making free open internet type deal with Comcast, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Now I haven't done a whole lot of research on this, but I heard that Google Fiber actually is kind of abandoning their efforts of laying fiber in the ground because they really believe that this is all going to go towards wireless. And I would see where ultimately all your internet's wireless, maybe through one provider, but we're going to have a lot of trouble with this limiting because especially, and so look at this, even with the unlimited, your hotspot, right, only has a certain amount. Well, as we're in the Internet of Things, TVs now connect to the Internet. I mean, every device. And so it's almost like it needs to be completely unlimited or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and we're really lucky to not have those, or I should say, a lot of us don't have those caps. Like your house internet lines, because I know of a lot of people who have a cap. Don't you have a cap, Joshua?
Yeah, I used to not have a cap, and I use Comcast, and at my home they introduced the 1 terabyte cap, which they claim only like the top 1% would ever use that. I guess I belong to that tier because I definitely violated that a couple of months in a row. But they claim that no one really uses that much, but it's just simply not true. But then here at the office, they still offer for business. We have unlimited, so at least that works for now.
My home internet has a cap, and it's like 500 gigs.
Wow.
Yeah, and they charge you $20 if you go.
Ouch.
But the thing is, they charge you $20 if you go 1 gig over or 100 gigs over, and so you're like,
oh, interesting. So
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. They don't charge per gig over, or even like, there's this. One bracket.
Like with internet companies, I think now we've all we've revolutionized this internet age with like our generation, and it's very interesting how like now it's you get Comcast and like you have a 1 terabyte limit. I mean, that's not a limit to most people. That's the sky's the limit to them.
Right.
But with mobile stuff, I feel like people are still at the will of all these companies like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, because I can say unlimited and give you 22 gigs of data, but even though you're going to go over, you have to do it because you need the extra data, and you're just at the will of the company.
Yeah, and especially as things change, like take, for instance, my Xbox ran out of room, so I just deleted a couple of games, downloaded a couple more, but then if I changed my mind, just making those small transactions could rack up 50 or 60 gigs of data moving around.
Right.
So,
well, and let's be honest, we're still at the will of our supreme overlords there at the telecom companies. So they're all conglomerates, we're all pawns.
Yes,
so.
insert Verizon ad here. Yes.
That is true. And speaking of that, this is kind of tech news, but NASA had a big press conference this week, and they've unveiled that there's all these other planets that they think that life could be on. And it reminded me, I don't know, are you guys familiar with the SETI at Home project?
I'm not.
It was pretty popular several years ago, but it was where basically you could sign up to let your computer run.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
And it was like looking for extraterrestrials. So I just want to know if we find them, what they've done with the internet, and if we could get maybe on their unlimited plan. I don't know, but it is pretty interesting. NASA actually really rolled this out in style. They built a website with all of this information, and it's very interesting. Only 39 light years away, and they named these planets are TRAPPIST 1b, C, D, E, F, G. Sounds about as bad as Samsung model numbers.
Oh yeah,
so.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting this week is Verizon has announced that they're doing whatever 5G testing is, which
skip 4G,
which I don't think we even have 5G standards yet. But they're claiming, I think the article that I read, something outrageous like 10 to 100 times faster, which they always make these wild claims. It never really works that way. And the testing is in kind of just weird cities. Like some make sense, like Seattle, but then Sacramento. Why does Sacramento always get
I don't know
weird stuff? It's like there's always like big cities and there's these kind of random cities.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that we are getting to the point of stuff being really fast. I'm pretty young, but I did grow up on the 56K modem, so I do remember the dial-up sounds. But now just being able to, watch this stream on my phone, that's pretty amazing. Or just be on the web right now on this mobile laptop. One of the articles that we were reading earlier was about Intel and Qualcomm making the chips for the phones now, and for all these mobile devices like iPads that can connect via LTE or hopefully 5G at some point. So these companies have made the hardware necessary to do these speeds. It's just that the networks aren't quite there. So.
Well, and the technology has been there for a long time. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the days of the Iraq War being big time during the early 2000s, they had come out with the military saying that they had Wi-Fi that was breaking the terabit barrier.
Yeah.
So the technology does exist, but
it's not open to the public yet.
Right, and it's all about making that economy of scale, making that the technology available for everyone else. So
yeah, I think we're gonna be 4G theoretically is a gig per second over mobile broadband, and we're nowhere near it right now, so I don't know what Verizon's talking about 5G. Like, I'm glad they do their unlimited plan, but I mean, get the name right.
Yeah,
So,
well, and like we talked about, a lot of this is marketing. If they just say we're really going to be doing LTE for many, many years, but it'd kind of be like the iPhone just still being called the iPhone.
Yeah.
And like, believe us, we've improved it, but it's still just the iPhone.
Yeah, it's called the iPhone 1 still.
So you get into some of that ridiculousness,
no.
which that's fine. But I think at the end of the day, we just want to see it improve. And we want to see it get better. And ultimately, I really do think we'll probably live in a world where everything is connected to the always-on network that doesn't start at your house with Wi-Fi, but is just everywhere.
I am pretty glad that these companies are going towards that route of they're always trying to improve their networks. Like if you look at Verizon, you actually look at the white papers on some of their stuff. I mean, they're constantly improving their networks. They're constantly, every time they take a tower down in a place, they're putting a new stronger tower up somewhere near that's 10 times stronger. So it's kind of amazing how these networks even work.
Well, and especially like in your urban areas, because it takes a lot more to retrofit urban areas rather than in the rural areas where there's nothing to screw up. You just go up.
Yeah, I mean, imagine
Right.
how many cell phones are in like Seattle. Just in Seattle.
Seriously.
I mean, that is crazy for them to do this with 4 or 5 or 6 towers.
Well, in sports stadiums, with their Wi-Fi, it's amazing how many people they have to get on these networks. So,
yeah.
Right. And I do think that these companies have done a little bit of a better job of, now a lot of times at some of these stadiums and larger places, they go ahead and they put in infrastructure ahead of time. When there's disasters, they take their mobile towers and set up additional ones. That really has improved, and it almost has just become a vital public utility. And regulation is always a weird thing because you hate regulation, you like regulation. But at some point, when does something become truly vital, like water, sewage, internet? And I really think that we may be at a day where internet has really reached that vital stage, because a lot of things you need to do to even interact with your own government require use of the internet.
Yeah, I think that the internet itself is a very powerful tool, obviously, but I think the reason why it's powerful is because you can get to everything else that does matter. You can get to water, food, safety, you can contact an EMT, you can contact the police, you can contact anyone you need to in the world with the internet.
So we take this this thing for granted a lot of the time, because what happens if that goes away?
Oh yeah, imagine if the internet was gone for 24 hours, we'd all be crying on Facebook. Oh wait, we can't do that.
So the next time
with 5G you can.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not a Verizon rep by any means, but I think we should be a little bit thankful that they are going forward in these infrastructures rather than keeping the same network and just charging more and more and more, because they were doing that for a little while, because our internet standards are nowhere close to European standards.
Yeah, and the thing with like the survival thing, like flash floods and hurricanes, like Hurricane Katrina, when all these networks were used for emergency services, it's not like they're little tiny ham radio repeaters. I mean, these things are epic scale to help a lot of people very quickly.
Right.
So they're not like just some crappy radio station. It really is like something awesome that everyone can use.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, and I know a lot of our listeners are from outside of the United States, and so if you want to let us know in the comments about your internet speeds, I'd be very interested to see, because I think often the U.S. has lagged behind greatly in our speeds, and that's something that I would love to have, ramped up and a little better. The Electronic Frontier Foundation this week came out and said that basically their estimation, which I'm not completely sure how they do this, but is that now half of the web, half of internet traffic is encrypted.
Yeah, that's great.
With HTTPS, which to me that seems like a little more than I would probably guess. So I don't know if that's truly true, but they're saying that Google played a big role by basically pressuring sites to use HTTPS. And if you don't know, when you just go and visit a site that's not secure, everything that you do could be interpreted, downloaded, watched by a hacker or someone. I mean, I used to, back in the day, I could just get on a wireless network and sit and watch all the traffic, and you just see everything everyone's doing. So this stuff changed as time went on, and different things, switches started to partition people off and some of this stuff. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of vulnerability to seeing what's going on. And like Gmail, I remember when they, said we're going to use HTTPS to secure the email. At one point, I think they only did it with the login, and then they switched to, as you read your email, all of that's secure. Well, Google really pushed this in a big way, and part of how they did it is, a lot of companies depend on showing up in the search results to make money.
Right.
So you search for something, if you can't find it, you're not going to buy it from that company. So Google basically started saying, hey, you need to put encryption on your website, or we're not going to rank you as good. And they recently just took it really crazy by saying in Chrome, they actually give a little warning that the site is unsecure, which scares a lot of people. And so how do you guys feel about this current state of encryption? And do you think that literally every interaction that you have, do you expect that it's private, or do you think that there's still some space for open activity that could be hacked?
Sure.
Yeah, first off, I want to say that I think it's super important that Google started it, because no one has their reputation and no one has their type of search indexing. So I'm not a Google rep by
this
any
guy
means.
is the ultimate, once again, our fanboy. I'm going to someday,
No.
when we get to, episode 50, I'm going to pull together every time you gave what sounded like a company endorsement. There's money falling out of his pockets from these different companies,
what about
apparently.
Bing? Come on, Bing is huge.
Yeah,
the next thing.
Bing.
Bing and Ask Jeeves.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So and Quora. So I'm glad that
Please
I'm
no.
glad that Google led this with HTTPS, just because they're kind of just like we were talking about the cell phone companies.
Yeah.
Everyone, including professionals, like professional environments, like Intel, like Microsoft, like all these massive other companies, they require Google and their search indexing and their algorithms to be able to be seen so that they can get business.
Right.
If you type in Intel and Intel.com doesn't come up, something's wrong. So, I'm really glad that Google made the big leap, and they kind of, grandfathered everyone into this huge security. I don't know if I'm okay with anything at all being out in the open. I would much rather just probably be secure. If you need to know it, I'll just
and
tell
that's
it
an
to
excellent question. Do you think the general public realizes that unless they're on an HTTPS site, that basically anything they do could be, watched?
Well, I think they're still getting around to open Wi-Fi.
yeah.
True.
Yeah. I think these people are they're very undereducated on a topic like this. There's not a lot of people who just actually know this stuff out the gate, I would probably say.
Right. Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of hacks. There's man-in-the-middle hacks. There's things where you can go and set up using...
Even with Heartbleed, when Heartbleed was a massive thing,
True.
even if you knew about it, there's nothing you could do until there was the massive fix.
Right.
So even if you were like a security expert, you're done.
Yeah, and a lot of these things, so like with there's something called a Wi-Fi pineapple.
Yes.
And there's different programs, but it's not that difficult anymore to basically say, hey, I'm going to set up something that's going to look for trusted networks that you're searching for. I'm going to now say, hey, I'm that trusted network. I'm Starbucks. Connect to me. And then I pass you on to the internet, but then as the hacker, you're able to see what's going on. And it depends on people not being smart enough to realize that, like, oh, I'm on a fake Gmail site that doesn't have, security. So I think maybe Chrome and Google have made a good move by saying we're really going to make sure you're aware the site is unsecure before you type in a username and
especially with the
password.
big services. I think that a lot of people, even if they're undereducated, will, if they see this may or may not be a phishing attack on gmail.com, they'll probably press the back button and not go for it. So I'm glad that these big companies are actually smart enough to implement that at this point.
Yeah, and that plays a really big role as far as your sharing of personal information, especially like when it comes to money.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be spending money on an unsecured site generally,
right?
And if you do, you need to know what the site is, who they are. Don't be sharing your personal information
generally.
Yeah, I remember one time I was helping a friend, and this was way back in like maybe 2000, 2001. But we were looking, I can't remember the details, but we were looking at this site that was kind of set up to do e-commerce, and it just stored everyone's names and credit cards just in a database that you could basically just run a query and grab whatever you wanted.
Man, gosh.
So fortunately, those days, are getting more behind us.
Yeah,
but
hopefully.
but security really is a big thing, and I think that people are becoming more security conscious, and they should be. And I think when everything is encrypted, the world probably will be a better place in terms of keeping us safe.
Yeah, the only fear I have in terms of the encryption and how all that works, you can go like Google it or Wikipedia, but just there's always a backdoor to everything. I mean, you look at Heartbleed, it literally took the world open in a day. On like CNET or something, they had an article on it. But I think with HTTPS, there's always going to be like that backdoor that someone's going to figure out and someone's going to do. But I think as we move forward, there'll be less and less of those people, and it'll be harder and harder for them to actually.
Right. And I think our other threat is just technology. Right now, all of this encryption is, we enjoy talking about a lot, depends on multiplying these prime numbers together, and the fact that mathematically it's very hard to, to undo that. And so as we look at quantum computing, different things, when we get to the point where it's like today, how quickly you could hack just an easy password, then that's going to really break the whole thing, and we're going to have to come up with something better.
Yeah.
So
no kidding.
Well, for now, I mean, we need to make this switch to 100%.
Yeah, I completely.
I mean, if we're not doing this by 2025 or something, like there's a problem.
Right. So there is a new show that's coming out that I saw the trailer to, and I think some of you guys did as well, called Planet of the Apps. That's the apps, not the apes.
Yes.
And, I'm not sure what I think about it. I think the geeky side of me, I think it's going to be really cool, kind of. But I'm not sure how the general public is going to feel about watching a show. It's basically, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, it's basically kind of like a what's the name of it? Shark Tank.
Shark Tank.
It's like a Shark Tank for app developers. But on Shark Tank, people are coming in with crazy stuff. Like here's a new dog house, and there's like physical stuff to see. And in this, it's all in apps. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that's going to be successful? Do you think it's kind of a PR stunt by Apple? Do you think it would be better if TLC or some network had produced it and it wasn't done by Apple? I mean, that's kind of like a big advertisement.
I think it kind of depends on how honest it is. Yeah. So if there's actually people coming with new apps that Apple hasn't seen and they're not trying to promote, then I think it could be a really cool show. But if it's just apps that they're like, hey, you should pay for this, then that's going to make it a lot less interesting for people that are actually interested in technology, not just the Shark Tank style show.
Right, and I think the top, whatever is the top apps or whatever, they're going to get featured placement in the App Store and all that. Donovan, I know that you're more of an Android Google guy. If Google did this, would you fare better about it or have the same feelings?
No, I think whether Google does it or Apple does it, I don't think it really matters because they both have large platform markets, billions of people.
Right.
And so I think the fact that one of those major carriers, one of the major app stores, it's kind of like, why is TLC big? Is because they do this.
Right.
Why does Apple do this? They do this. So
right.
I think it's totally fine that they're doing it. And again, the transparency will definitely be, whether or not that makes it really fun. But
so correct me if I'm wrong, but the four people that are on the show for at least the first season, which by the way, I think it's a PR stunt, but those four people, the difference I think between Shark Tank and why people actually like Shark Tank is because Mark Cuban and the other 3 or 4 people, they're actually billionaires. Like, this isn't a joke. They actually do have a lot of money and they're very good at business.
Yeah.
And they're good at starting businesses, yada yada. But with these people like will.i.am, I mean, has will.i.am ever made Snapchat or made Pokemon Go? I mean, how the guy's may be really good at music, but how do you know that he even knows how the app culture works or how things like that work nowadays? I think that they're taking like Jessica Alba's an actor. How does an actor know anything about making a full-blown app and making it successful?
Well, and I think part of what's on our part to decipher is we do like to silo people. So we like to say, you're an actor, you can never become president. Look at Ronald Reagan. We like to put people in these things and lock them in for life. So I have some faith that these guys know what they're doing and have some other stuff. But yeah, I'm just not sure what I think of it. I'll be interested to see what happens.
I think the Apple has so much money that they just don't care right now, and they're just like trying to. I think the big thing was when they released Apple Music. No, when they released Apple Music, everyone got really mad because they're saying, "Why do I need to pay for this? Why is this a subscription? Why why can't my iTunes be my iTunes?" And a lot of people are pretty undereducated with like a lot of stuff, but they're like, what is this Apple Music? What does this even mean? And then now they're trying to move it into a reality, TV show that people need to watch weekly and stream weekly and things like that. I think that they're desperate to push for something that people are actually going to hook onto. Right. And if this works, it's great. If it doesn't, I can guarantee you they're going to try something else that's going to be a totally different spin-off of something, and then hopefully people will just buy their reputation.
Yeah.
Well,
it'll be yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Dalton.
The actors that are on the show actually all own businesses, as far as I know. Like Gwyneth Paltrow and Jessica Alba both own like different skincare companies, I think.
Okay.
So they do have business experience, and I don't know how much that is because they didn't make their money doing that. They made a bunch of money, then went back and made those businesses.
And
so
became investors,
Yeah, exactly. But they can also promote it themselves, which makes it a little bit easier to do business instead of starting from the bottom with a business and then kind of working your way up that way.
Right.
So, I don't know how much app experience they have, but it does seem like they have business experience, and hopefully the show is transparent and they're like actually giving people a shot.
Not scripted.
And even if it is a blitz by Apple, I mean, who's better at making a brand than Apple?
True. Yeah.
I mean,
True. Yeah.
If it helps their brand, cool. If it doesn't, it'll be cut within a year. A season. So,
right. Very true. Very true. And Dalton, I understand that you just have a very quick piece of interesting tech news this week.
Yeah. I was looking on Live Science, and they have this new thing. These two guys came up with like a plastic wrap looking thing. And it's an energy-free AC. So basically what it does is it's like a super thin like a plastic roll basically, and it has like glass beads in it, and then there's like a plate of reflective silver or something, a very thin layer of reflective silver. And what it does is it bounces off radiation, and it's like 96% of all sunlight that hits it just bounces off.
Right.
But the thing is that it's super thin, so you can actually put it on like if you covered your roof with this stuff, it would keep your house cool in a summer day without using any energy at all, and it can do it even at nighttime. And
interesting.
You can even put it over solar panels to cool the solar panels.
Wow.
And they still get like sun, I guess, basically, because it's so thin.
And today we're going to leave you with a very interesting video right now. If you put a windmill in the middle of the interstate in GTA, it creates some chaos and havoc. And so it's always fun things to do in these simulated worlds, and enjoyable to see. Enjoyable to see what happens. What I really love is the chaos goes, and then the medics show up, and then they get involved in it, and it spirals out of control. Somebody cool made it, and there it is, and so so go check it out. So, hey, thank you so much for watching this edition of the Man Cave Technology Show. If you want to be a fellow cave dweller, make sure that you click like, click subscribe, and join us, and there will be more to come. Thanks for watching the show.